This is probably the biggest thing in my life that holds me back. And I think it might be the biggest thing in a lot of people's lives that holds them back. And it's how do you elevate? So how do you elevate to that next level of yourself, that higher level of yourself, without really having the tools in front of you to do it? And what is the way that we keep ourselves stuck? Let's delve into it. So I think one of the biggest things that we as a species, and in my experience as a young men have, and young women too, is that we actually have things backwards. And I literally have it written on my desk right here, which is don't get things backwards. And I've been struggling with trying to explain this in a way that doesn't sound wooey. And I think sometimes I just need to allow my wooiness. Some context. Hi, my name is Saul. I live in Cornwall. I'm 26. I'm currently trying to level up in life and basically live the best life possible alongside inspiring others to also do the same. And basically just create a community of people and meet others that are all trying to be better and do some awesome things. I live in Cornwall. I love to surf. I run a coffee van. I am also rebuilding a Land Rover. And year on year, I am trying to elevate both myself and my life and the life of those around me. And I normally find, it's currently January when I'm recording this, I normally find when I'm in January, especially in winter, I don't like winter. Winter is not a fun thing for me. It doesn't come very naturally. I'm one of those people where, you ever hear people be like, oh, if it was 25 degrees all the time and it was sunny all the time, you'd be bored. You know what? Screw that. Like, just shut up, man. You're just chatting out your ass. Like, 25, I've never woken up on a warm, sunny day and gone like, wow, it should be raining. I'm not cutting that. Excuse me. I'm not cutting that. I've never woken up on a warm, sunny day and been like, you know what? I wish it was raining. I wish it was bloody cloudy and it was -5. No. And if you don't know, in the UK where I live in Cornwall, January is pretty much single-digit temperatures Celsius, very cold, very wet, very rainy. But it's also like a great time to reevaluate the year and reevaluate the way you want to move forward, because basically all of my sort of, what's the word, like systems or like things that I lean on, like containment structures, kind of go out the window, and you really are relying on yourself to do it. Because for me, being outside, being with friends, like being in the world is normally my way that I like feel safe. And so you can't really outsource it, and you're like forced to rely on yourself. So in January is normally when I have to open the bonnet and like look in the dark closet and be like, what am I doing well? What am I doing wrong? And this year has been like no other. I've been forced to look at myself and look at the things I want to achieve and realize, oh crap, there are ways that I am operating that I do not know how to elevate, or there are goals that I have and things I want to achieve that I don't know how to be that person that can do those things. I don't know how to do these things. I see people who can, and I'm really blessed to have those around me that show me it's possible, but I don't know how I can do it. I don't feel like there's a map. I don't feel like there's a way. And it's sort of like, how do you, I was trying to think of an analogy here. How do you it's like trying to cook something new without all the ingredients or without the recipe. Like, you can't do it because you can only do it with the ingredients you have. How do you go to the next level? How do you do it? And it's something that I'll admit, quite embarrassed. I mean, there is something that I'll admit I feel quite embarrassed to share about publicly, which is my answer is faith. And my answer is a belief in something higher. And truthfully, I feel really embarrassed to talk about that publicly, because it makes me feel like I'm going to be like ousted as like a woo-woo person, or like like a priest, or like some crazy guy that like believes in the man upstairs and like all these things. And it's because I grew up weirdly sideways, like double, what's the word, like contradictive environment, which was, I went to a Catholic school. It was like an academy. It was a private school. And it was like forced, like post-nunnery, like mega freaking, like, we prayed in the morning. But then everyone in there was like super atheist. Like all the teachers were really atheist apart from a couple. And like we were all like, oh yeah, that religion crap is like, oh, BS. I then also grew up to parents that were both Buddhist. And like the outside world of religion was just always like a big no. And I genuinely used to grow up thinking, I grew up thinking that like religion, like this is hand on the heart. Like the way I used to think about religion was, people that are religious or spiritual or believe in anything are just too much of a dumbass or, too much of a like wuss to accept the fact that life is meaningless and you die and nothing happens afterwards. I used to believe that. It's taken me until I've got a bit older, like being raised in a Buddhist family, then training to be a yoga teacher, and like listening to my own experiences, which was like I suppose like a coming out of the closet spiritually, because I like knew it was there the whole time but couldn't believe it because it was seen as like weak, I suppose. But that in the end has been my answer to any time I need to elevate myself. Anytime I need to do something where I don't know the answer, faith is it. It's kind of like, the way I describe it is kind of like, if you want, like I have it backwards basically. A lot of the time I will try to figure things out with my head. Like my head will try and calculate and solve and program and solve every possibility possible. Some might class that as overthinking, and those some would be correct. But I just realized that like when I'm doing those things, I've got it backwards. And that links back to what I said 2 minutes ago, which is don't get it backwards. Most of us I feel like sometimes when we are the most stuck, we feel like our destiny and our way forward comes from our brain, our mind pushing forward, our brain subjecting to the will of the universe, and we're going to bend universe to our will and we're going to brute force it. And it just normally leads to more BS, more suffering, more like annoyance, more ego. Just normally just ending up like more frustrated. I end up going round and round in circles. It's like if you have, I don't know how to explain this. I don't know. If you have a engine that is a set amount of horsepower, a set amount of fuel, and you run it as hard as you can, you're going to get the same result. It doesn't matter. You got to change the engine. You got to open the developer. You got to speak to the engineer. Damn, that's a good analogy. I'm going to keep that. But anyway, the reason I said don't get it backwards is because for me, and weirdly, the way that I felt like I was allowed to finally start speaking about this publicly was when I did The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, which if you've never done it as an artist or as a person that just generally feels blocked, incredible book. In the book, she talks about like clearing the way for the creator. If you're listening to this audio, I did some like quotation marks in my hands. Julia Cameron talks about the clearing the way for the creator, which essentially means unblocking all of the paths for the universe to create through you. So you are not the musician, you are the instrument. That's the way I like to think about it. When I am really like able to let go and chill out and just like take my hands off the steering wheel and let my ego go, I realize that I am the instrument and the universe is the musician. I just need to get out of the way for the will of the universe, which is freaking terrifying, because a lot of our brain, a lot of our body is coded full of so much fear and patterns and trauma. And like, you know, it's such a simple thing to say in 2026 now that like the media, but it's true. Like, dude, the world thrives off fear. Like the media and the elites, they thrive off of isolating you. People who are scared are people that are able to be controlled, because someone that's scared will listen to anything. If you isolate someone and then pump them full of fear, which is why on the news every day all you hear is X thing is going horribly wrong, Y thing is going wrong, Z thing is going wrong. You never hear about the good news because people who are listening to good news can't be sold to. And like, you know, I'm reading news and I'm like, if I hadn't known that had existed because I read it on my phone, it wouldn't impact my life in any way, shape or form. Yet I can read something on the news that genuinely can give me like a panic attack and ruin my day. And it's insane. So you have to be able to sort of understand that those feelings will be there, but it doesn't matter. You can still work through them. Like you can still sort of keep going no matter what. Like even though you'll get all those alarms. And in fact, like weirdly, the alarms you get are actually like the symptom that you're doing the right thing. Like when it starts alarming, in your body, in your brain, and everything is normally a sign that you're going down the right path. Like resistance is normally a sign. Oh, is my fucking laptop frozen? Oh my God. No, it hasn't. Yay. I'm keeping that in. But yeah, resistance is normally a sign that you're going down the right path. So when I was saying about you got it backwards, when we need to level up and when we need to keep going to that next level, which we don't know how to do because we don't have the tools, we don't have the trainers, you need faith. And faith is something that is deeply personal to you. It's probably the most personal thing you will have in your life, your faith. Because when I heard that when I was younger, I used to just think it was like God and Christian and all this crap about like, I don't know. I just rejected it. And now having my own experiences, I've realized that's the way out of like, if you don't know how to navigate a mess, you need to trust that the universe has a way forward for you. And to do that takes practice. And to do that takes humility. And to do that takes really knowing yourself and knowing how you block yourself. Because you have to trust sometimes a voice in your heart, in your stomach, and in your head that completely sometimes may say something the like opposite to what the rest of your body is saying, to what your mind that is really scared is saying. And the way I like to think about it too is like with the navigation thing is like, if you're gripping the steering wheel really hard, you have no control over what's going on. You're just going to jolt and you can never make smooth movements. But if you have a bit of a looser grip on the steering wheel and you're just kind of like letting it flow a little bit more, you'll have so much more control over what's going on. And realizing that like you can't control every single thing. And in fact, the ability to control every single thing will mean that you just ruin it. You will just slam the brakes as hard as you can on everything because it feels uncomfortable and not make any forward progress. The best things in life require you to be uncomfortable. Resistance is normally a good thing. I was reading somewhere that Jung talked about how that neurosis is actually a positive indicator. Things that we don't want to do normally mean are the things that we need to do. And I've got a little spin of that on my own, which is basically when we were cavemen, or cave women, millions of years ago, thousands of years ago. I don't know how long ago cavemen were. Basically, if you think about it, we're in caves, right? There's a big fire because cavemen had fire, which is sick. This is a fire in that area. Yeah, cavemen had fire, and there was the big, dark, scary world out there. You know, tall grass monsters, right? There were probably some cave people that wanted to run out there and be like, I have no fear. I'm going to run out there and freaking absolutely, I'm not scared. They probably got eaten. So their genes didn't pass down onto the thing. So we don't have those genes of the people that were like no fear at all. Equally, the people that were like terrified and did absolutely nothing, they probably also died too because they were like, oh, well, I don't want fire. I don't want food. I don't want to talk to anyone. I'm too scared. They're probably going to die too. The people who had just the right amount of like, okay, I'm going to go outside and do this because it's necessary. Okay, I'm kind of scared now. Whatever, they probably lived. But they probably like lent on the side of caution. So we are probably evolved, or we are ancestorized. We come from people who are slightly more cautious, which makes sense from an evolutionary perspective. From a survival perspective, it's not good for us to try and break our limits and push forward because that puts us into danger. It's not good for us to, try and, keep going as fast as we can and elevate our level and level up and get status, because as humanity, our like base program is that we just want to mate with as many people as possible, spread our genes as many as possible to keep going. The difference between humanity and any other race, between mankind, is that we have got this new part of our brain that allows us to override our old part of our brain. That's the only difference that separates us from any other species on Earth. And that's the whole thing, which is like, we have this old part of our brain that still is like, yeah, I want to have sex with everything, eat as much food as possible, and never leave the house. But we have this other part of our brain that understands that our purpose as a human is not just to procreate and spread genes and kill the other cavemen and stuff. We can create our own sense of purpose. And I sense that is what faith kind of is. And it's funny because I think you could spend loads of time arguing what is faith to you. Like, to some it's God in a Christian sense, to some it's God in a Buddhist sense, or the universal sense. You know, you've got like Buddhism and Hinduism where there's like Krishna, and there's other things. You've got Islam where it's oh my God, Allah, Jesus Christ, not Jesus Christ, that's God, that's Christian. Sorry, anyway. But even if you didn't believe in a separate higher power, the universe or something, you could just argue that, you know, it's just your higher self. And you have to trust that there's probably a part of your brain that's your higher self that isn't connected to the other things that understands and will guide you via your intuition. So whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You just have to know how to learn to listen, how to get out of your own way and listen. Now, to get out of your own way and listen, in my opinion, requires you to firstly be able to remove yourself from all the things. Like, if your mind and soul and body is like 15 different things at once, you need to be able to understand that, like, you are separate to all of them, and sometimes they aren't giving the right messages. And you need to have the ability to see everything that's going on and ignore the right things and listen to the right things. And my number one tool for that is journaling and speaking it out loud. So if there's a part of your brain that like really feels like, oh my God, I'll give a great example. I'm trying to get back into the gym at the moment. I am really, really trying to get back into the gym, and my like whole body is going, A, you don't have the money for a gym membership. B, the commitment of paying for a gym membership for X months and having to give a 30-day notice or else you get banned is terrifying. C, like going to the gym is bad. I have this like deep fear, like deep rooted programming in my brain that like pushing your body is bad and you're breaking your body. And I'm having to like work through those three things and understand that like when I want to go to the gym at the moment, my whole body sends an alarm signal of like bad, hurting, no money, fear, terrifying, and I have to just be able to know that there's a voice inside that is, call it God, call it the universe, call it your higher power, that goes, nah, this is the right thing. We know it's the right thing because you feel better afterwards. You know how you feel afterwards. So I'm going to keep this one short because it's one of the first ones. I've already babbled enough, but that's the first step to achieving those new things, that when you want to do it, when you feel the pull, I'll finish with this. You might be asking, if you've got to the end of this, how do I know I'm being called to something higher? Like, how do I know? And the very, very, very clear sign that you're being called to something higher is you just start getting visions of, I'm not talking visions as in like, oh my God, visions, as in like you just start getting things popping in your head of like ways you'd like your life to look. So if you're getting moments where you're like, oh my God, there's a car I want, or oh my God, there's a partner I'd like, or oh my God, there's a place I'd like to live, or a job I want, and you keep getting those visions and they scare you even because it's like they're too good to even believe, that's normally a sign that you're being called to something higher and you should listen. So be that what it will, take a vision, maybe. Like if you're getting any of these things where you're like, oh, I really could see a way my life could be better. Maybe sit down with it and think, what would be a way that I could get that done? And then also, I'm going to keep going for a bit. Jung talks about synchronicities, which is basically this concept that when you start looking and you start aligning with this higher power or thing you look for, you start to notice the universe starts like giving you them a bit more. Like giving opportunities. It'll never give you the life that you want, but it will give you the tools to get it yourself. Because it wants to see you grow and succeed. So therefore, if you allow it to, it will help. You have to do the work. You have to take the step, but it will give you the path, if that makes any sense. So I would say to that, like with those visions, just sit down, write them out, maybe go on Pinterest, make a mood board, and then, you know, see if it starts to scare you, that's okay. Like if you get these visions and you start writing them down about the ways you'd like to live your life and you feel that your heart like starts pumping, oh my God, that's okay. That's normal. In fact, that's completely normal. It's just the fear of you've got hope, and that's a delicate, scary thing. So do that, and then start to notice when you start visualizing these visions and start thinking about what comes up. Notice what storylines come up in your mind about like why you can't have that thing, why you can't do it, what's new, why isn't it working? And then a great thing to do is either write down or voice note that monologue in your mind that's saying the things that you can't do it. I voice note every minute. I've got a new challenge for myself. Is every morning I have to voice note 5 minutes to myself of the reasons why I can't do all these things and why I'm so mad and why everything sucks and why I'm stuck, and externalize it and let it out. And then I'm able to sit with it and be like, oh, wow, look at that. That's really went for a day. But hey, that's the trick. So thank you for listening. I'm Saul. This has been 20 minutes. I'm going to keep it short. This is the first step of how to get towards that higher self. And it's a continuous journey. And the journey towards it is awesome. So if you'd like to stick around, I'll be posting a lot more of these because I really love talking about it. And there's so much to do. And I'm going to get so much better as the time gets on. So keep listening. Stay tuned. If you have any questions, write in the comments or send me a message. Don't know why it's up there. But yeah, have a great rest of your day. And I will see you very soon. Bye.